I really wasn't expecting to be making this video so soon. I wasn't sure if I would even be making this video in 2023, but today is the day. It's officially here, the Leica M11 Monochrom. Technically, I guess it's not here, like right in front of me. About a month has passed since I got my first look at the M11 Monochrom, and I also got to spend a few days with a pre-production unit right afterwards. Pre-production firmware and everything, but I still got to spend a few days with the camera, and oh my god. It's been killing me to not be able to share any of my thoughts or photos on this camera, and I don't know how we're gonna go about this because there's so much to cover, but let's dive in just in general on the monochrome system. The Leica M and the Leica Q system have monochrome variants. This is going to allow you to shoot with a digital camera that has a monochrome only sensor. That means no color, you're only shooting black and white with a digital camera. If you're already familiar with these cameras, this is old news, but I still get comments all the time where people are baffled at the idea of a monochrome only digital camera. So we're going to talk a little bit about that specific use case and like who this camera is really for. But more than anything, let's just talk about everything they've done with this camera coming from the M10 monochrome specifically. You might remember last year when they jumped from the M10 to the M11, they made some pretty substantial changes. And in that video, when the M11 launched, I wanted to kind of look into the future a little bit and sort of have an idea as to what the M11 monochrome might be like. And even after buying the M11 like 9 months after it came out, pretty much every video I've made featuring the M11 in any way, I've kind of talked about how this has always sort of been a placeholder for the eventual M11 monochrome. We'll start with resolution. The M10 monochrome had plenty of resolution. 40 megapixel sensor, it's great. M11 monochrome, it does have the same triple resolution technology in the original M11. So now in your monochrome sensor, you have the choice. You have 60 megapixels, 36 megapixels, or 18 megapixels. All of these shooting raw DNG format. You get to choose the resolution on the fly, make the change whenever you want. It's great. I see a lot of people talking about this and say, well, I don't need that resolution. I don't need 60 megapixels. You might not need 60 megapixels, but some people might prefer 18 over the 40 or 36 over the 40. It's not about the highest possible resolution, although for me, I really do enjoy that because the more resolution you have when you need it and when you want that sort of file size, it's nice to have, but not always being locked to it. It's a great option to have. So me, I think 36 or even 18 are plenty for most use cases. But if I'm going to be printing, if I need to crop in, if I don't have the reach on, a 35 or a 50, but I want to get a little bit closer to kind of fill the frame, I do have the room to crop there. If you don't like cropping, you don't have to. It's all about options. For me, giving people more options for their resolution in the same camera, I see that as a win. Battery life has also improved as the M10 monochrome used the previous style battery with the bottom plate. Now the M11 monochrome, just like the M11, it has the same quick access battery, no bottom plate, USB-C charging. All of these changes I absolutely love. Since I bought this M11 6 months ago, I've yet to buy another battery for it. I still haven't taken the battery out of the box. I just plug this thing in on the bottom of the camera when I'm not using it, and it's great. I know a lot of people, the whole removal of the bottom plate and changing that all up, that was a pretty polarizing thing when they did that with the M11, so I know this is going to continue to be sort of polarizing, especially for a lot of the purists, people who, like the old film M's that have the bottom plate there. Me personally, the battery style, the quick charging, it's just way more efficient and convenient, so I think it's a win, but you might think otherwise. The menu and quick menu system, everything now matches perfectly with the M11 and really the rest of Leica's lineup. Similar to the battery, you have a really similar menu system, similar battery style at least, with the quick release across, the M system, the SL system, the Q system. Everything about Leica is really consistent all across their three main systems now, and it's just really, really great to see. I say three main systems. They also have other cameras, of course, digital medium format, and also some APS-C cameras. The three main full frame systems, the M, Q, and SL, everything really, really works well together. The menu system, the buttons, the quick release batteries, it's just nice. Let's talk about low light and the ISO performance, because in the M10 monochrome, I remember everybody talking about that. Like, this is insane. You can see in the dark. You can shoot in the dark, basically. You were able to go from 160 to 100,000. Now, the M11 monochrome, they have reduced the base ISO. So that went from 160 to 125. Now, the highest ISO can go up to 200,000. I don't know when I would ever possibly need to shoot at ISO 200,000, but It's there if I need it. And also because of that, ISO 100,000 is improved over the M10 Monochrome, 50,000, and so on. The low light performance, the noise, everything about it has been improved, and it's just insane. I've personally found the low light in the M11 to be great. I have no issues with it. I can push it when I need to, but it's still digital noise. You know, the color can get a little wonky, and me personally, I'm always converting to black and white in post anyway. But doing that and then comparing it to just a straight out of the camera monochrome only file, the noise I found is so much closer to an actual film grain and sharpness that it's just not really in the same ballpark. Again, I had a pre-production camera like a month ago, so I didn't want to shoot side-by-side comparisons because I knew that things in the firmware were still getting tweaked, but just from what I saw there, it was just insane. Better highlight retention, better shadow retention, better sharpness, everything about it as you push the ISO up. I was expecting things to start falling apart, and it just kept going. And it's not that I'm like a huge stickler for noise or grain or anything. I still shoot black and white film, so I still like a lot of grain, but these files look so much closer to that than a digital file that's colored that's been converted to black and white. Now, are you going to be able to tell a difference with an M11 converted black and white and an M11 monochrome black and white side by side, say on Instagram or in a YouTube video? I don't know necessarily that everyone is going to be able to tell a difference between those two in a form like that, but if you're actually using the camera, you're, opening up the files yourself on your own computer, your own screen, making prints at home, you're without a doubt going to notice a difference in sharpness. The sensor is only seeing grayscales, there's no color filters at all, so there's no color interpolation that needs to happen. Details are going to stand out with higher sharpness, higher contrast, and without those color filters absorbing any of the light coming through the lens, the monochrome sensor is actually going to take on more light. So you're getting a higher sensitivity, which results in lower noise with the same nominal sensitivity. This is also Leica's first ever backside illuminated CMOS monochrome sensor. And also, let's not forget internal storage. The M10 Monochrome, like every other M before it, never had any internal storage in the camera. The M11 changed that, coming out with 64 gigabytes internal. So if you don't have an SD card or if you want to shoot redundantly, you now have that option. The M11 Monochrome also has internal storage, but it's not just 64 gigs, it's 256 gigs of internal storage. There have been a couple of times where I've gone out with my M11 and I happened to forget my SD card here at home, either in the computer, on my desk, and wasn't a big deal. I was able to keep shooting because I had internal storage, and even 64 gigs, that's plenty. 256 gigs. This is great for people who use bigger cards. Maybe you shoot with a 128 or a 256 gig card. Now you can have everything perfectly redundant. You can also write, your DNGs to the SD card and JPEGs to the internal, or vice versa. You can do an overflow option where once the SD card fills up, then it'll automatically switch over to the internal storage. It's just like having two SD cards really, but you don't have to have an SD card to use it. You just use the internal storage with one SD. It's just nice. It's great to have. The camera is also a little bit lighter, so the M10 Monochrome had a weight of 660 grams, where the M11 Monochrome is 540 grams. Speaking on the weight difference a little bit, me personally, the M11, I've got the silver one, which means it has the brass top plate. It's much heavier, and when I bought the camera, didn't really bother me. I'm like, it's fine. It's not that heavy and it feels nice and solid. Carrying this around for 6 months and then just carrying the M11 Monochrome, which is only available in black, so it's an aluminum top plate, much lighter, carrying that around for like 3 days, instantly I was like, yep, I'm over the brass. I don't care. Just aluminum all day long. So much lighter. I didn't think it would make that much of a difference, to be honest. I think I've even said in videos before, changed my mind. The lighter weight, it's nice. And speaking of the black aluminum top plate, the camera itself, all monochromatic, all of the monochrome cameras have a very similar style. They've removed the red Leica logo, they've removed the red on the engravings on the camera, so all of the engravings are now just in white and gray. You've got all black buttons. Everything about this camera is meant to be more stealth, discreet, just more unobtrusive in general. And whether or not you believe it makes a difference, what color your camera is, or whether or not you can see the logo, I'll let you argue in the comments about that down below. Me personally, though, despite always loving the look of just silver cameras and just thinking these look great, the all black look, especially while I'm just out for whatever reason, I've really come to appreciate it. Most of the time when I would be out with my M11, most people would just say, oh, that's an old film camera. But when I was out shooting with the black one, I never had one person say anything, and it just kind of looks like other cameras at that point, which is kind of nice. Another change worth mentioning is the LCD display on the back. So they've actually updated not only the resolution of the display, but also the glass as well to make it more scratch resistant and durable. The M10 Monochrom's LCD had a display of roughly 1 million pixels with scratch resistant Gorilla Glass. However, the M11 Monochrome now has sapphire cover glass and a resolution up to 2.3 million pixels. And all of these updates can be had in the M11 Monochrome for $9,195 US. Holy, yeah, no matter how you look at it, that's a lot of bread. And the M11 for me, I bought this 6 months ago thinking the M11 Monochrome, eventually when that comes out, I'll probably sell this and pick that up, but that'll be a while. I'll get plenty of time with the M11 before they make that. Here we are, and it's time now. Am I going to sell this M11 to buy the M11 Monochrome? That's probably what a lot of you are wondering. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you probably already know the answer. Yes, I am, without a doubt. I personally am mostly a black and white photographer. If you've already been watching my videos for a while, you already know this, but there's a good chance there's plenty of people out there who have never seen a single video of mine. Welcome. I personally like black and white photography the most. Since I've picked up a camera, I've always gravitated towards black and white. My M6, I've had this camera for 10 years. Thousands of rolls of film have been put through this, and maybe a dozen of those rolls were color. I pretty much always shoot in black and white. And then even my M11, always in black and white mode. As soon as I import, it's automatically converted to black and white. It just makes sense for me to just get right to the source right off the bat and just shoot with a monochrome camera. The extra sharpness, detail, low light, all of those like actual technical benefits are great. One of the main benefits for me personally, and it's really just all in my head, and it's all about intention, going out and shooting knowing I only have black and white. Once I remove even the possibility of color, because I'm tempted by color often. If I'm out shooting with my M11 and I see something really nice color in it, I get a little tempted, you know? I'm like, well, maybe I'll dabble. I'll try a little bit with the color. And it's not for me. No matter how many times I've tried, it's just when I'm shooting for myself, which is typically what I'm using these cameras for, I'm always seeing in black and white, and eliminating that even small possibility. For me, my OCD, ADHD, all that stuff, it's the same reason I would go out with only black and white film in my M6, because I wanted to eliminate all of those options entirely. And I could continue to shoot with my M6 in black and white film, and I will. Forever. As long as they're making black and white film, I'm going to keep shooting with this thing. But my use case and how often I'm developing film and scanning film and all of that stuff, 3 kids and just everything I have going on, I want to spend my time more with the camera in my hands and less messing with chemicals and all that stuff. Maybe one day when my kids are older and I've got my little darkroom set up again, that'll be great. But until then, having a monochrome digital camera for me, it's where I'm at and I love it. Just excited to be shooting with this one. However, I've got to be honest, I even told, the people at Leica USA, I don't know where you really go from here, because I've kind of talked about this before in all of the other M11 videos and kind of speculating on this one. They gave me everything I really wanted in the M11 Monochrome and more. And I don't know what more you can really add or change to the M camera and still be an M. It feels bizarre. Like, yes, they can continue improving low light, I guess, if we really need that, or resolution if we really need that. Like, everything about the M in a digital form with a monochrome sensor included, everything kind of already feels maxed out. So it's like, where do you go from here? I really don't know. I'm sure they'll surprise me, but the probability of me eating these words in a few years, like all of that aside, right now, current time of recording, right before the launch of this camera, it feels like this is the end game camera. And I've been saying that to friends and people before, like, if they give the M11 Monochrome what the M11 had, which they've done and more, it really kind of feels like, what more could I possibly ask for? Going out and shooting with my M6, like going out with the intention to shoot black and white, taking the M11 monochrome, kind of going out, treating it the same way because it feels just like the M6 does, only giving you more flexibility. You know, you're never going to run out of film. You can shoot redundantly if you want to. You can push to no end, you know, in low light, all with still that intention of black and white. Not for everybody, but for me, it really just feels like the perfect everyday camera that I could ever ask for. It's the classic M rangefinder system that I've been using for a decade and love, but it gives me all of the flexibility and still that black and white. It's just, if you can't tell, I've been waiting a month to talk about this camera, so pretty excited about it. I've got an order placed for that along with the VisiFlex 2 because I've been wanting to check that out since I got the M11. I'll share more about that when it comes in. As for my M11, I've loved using this camera for the last 6 months, and I am going to be selling it to fund the M11 Monochrome. I personally just like to fund my cameras by selling other cameras rather than just hoarding tons and tons of cameras. My children are much more expensive than Leica cameras, so I am going to be selling my M11. If you are interested, you can reach me down below through my email. If the camera is sold, I will pin a comment down below letting you know that the camera is no longer available. So please, if you are interested in purchasing this camera from me, you can shoot me an email, but only do it if you've checked for a pinned comment down below. If I sell this camera and 8 months down the road, I'm still getting emails asking if it's still available, boy, I'm not going to be happy. Now, if you're not interested in the M11 or M11 Monochrome, maybe you're interested in some older cameras. Now is kind of a good time to check the used market. When new cameras come out, typically the previous generations, you start to see a little bit of a price drop. So maybe you've been holding out for one of those. Now would be a good time, especially by checking out today's sponsor, KEH Camera. This April, as we celebrate Earth Month, KEH is the perfect place to shop if you're looking to pick up some new to you pre-owned gear. For over 4 decades now, KEH has been buying, selling, and trading used photography gear, which not only extends the usefulness of cameras and lenses, but also helps reduce the number of items that end up in landfills. By buying and selling used gear, you're not only saving money, but you're also doing your part to help take care of the planet. When you're shopping with KEH, you can be confident that your equipment has been cleaned, tested, and thoroughly graded. Plus, with a 180-day warranty and a generous 21-day return policy, you can buy with peace of mind. Not only that, for any orders over $75, that's going to come with free shipping. As a special offer to all of my viewers, you can use the codes and links below to get a discount on your first order or a bonus on your quote if you're choosing to sell your gear. Using these links go a long way at supporting the channel at no extra cost to you, so thank you for all of the support, and thank you to KEH Camera for sponsoring this video. I should also mention that along with the M11 Monochrome being released, Leica is also announcing a brand new version of the 50mm Summilux spherical. It's my favorite 50mm lens. They've just updated it with a brand new housing. It's a really similar design and size as their 35 Summilux spherical, so everything kind of has a nice cohesive feel to it. They've improved the bokeh with 11 aperture blades. There's an integrated swivel lens hood, updated performance on the entire lens in general with new elements inside, as well as improved focusing distance up to 0.45 meters. So now you can actually focus closer than you could with the previous versions. I don't have any sample photos myself from this lens. I only got to check out the M11 Monochrome, so all of the photos you saw with that camera today were made with either my 50mm Summilux spherical or the 35 Monochrom spherical. I had such a good time with this camera, and huge thanks to Leica Camera USA for all of their support and love over the years. They've been just amazing to work with, and being able to do stuff like this for one of my favorite cameras of all time, the Leica M, it never gets old. It's always an honor, and I really appreciate it, even when I have some gnarly stomach bug in the middle of it. Just for, a little wrap-up story time here. When stuff like this happens, I never know what's coming. I, get an email and an NDA, and hey, we've got something coming your way. And I had no idea what it was until it was here. And when it was here, I was sick. So I was in bed all day, didn't even know the camera had arrived, completely forgot, and then realized like 20 minutes before I had to get on a Zoom call with Leica to go over what was in this box. I woke up, hadn't even opened it yet, hopped on the call. I was insanely surprised, when we started the talk, and I was like, oh, The M11 Monochrome is actually out now. It's here. I was not expecting this camera to come out for a while, so I was really excited. Despite literally 10 seconds after hanging up the call, I had to run to the bathroom to throw up. So the first couple days that the camera was in my possession, didn't really get to use it that much, but I didn't let that ruin my fun or my time with the camera. I really had a good time with it, and I just can't wait for mine to get here now. So if you want to see more videos, specific things about the M11 Monochrome, let me know what you'd like to see most, because there are absolutely going to be videos coming. For the last 6 months, this has been my one camera that I've really been using, aside from some Polaroid cameras as well. But just day to day, this is the camera I've been using, and now it'll be the M11 Monochrome. So plenty of uses out of that camera to come. I'm really excited for it. And again, any thoughts or things you'd like to see, anything at all, we can keep the conversation going in the comments down below. That's going to do it for this video. I love you all very much. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys soon.